All right, Johan is being ridiculous as usual, but he's in a roundabout way saying, Sandy, let's move on to this drama with Bernie Bush. Sandy says, please accept this message as notice that if Auntie Sandy cusses me out again live and direct on CMR, I'll be seeking $750,000 for pain and suffering, the trauma I cause when I now feel it appropriate to cuss out people for no good reason. All right, folks, let's talk about it. Y'all know I was paying attention. Yes, I was aware of what was happening. Now, I need to give y'all the backstory, okay? I actually knew about this situation from June. Let me grab the letter. 1 second now. 1 second. Hold on. Let me grab the letter. As they say, it was left on the windshield. This is the virtual windshield now, folks. So yes, honey child. So I heard about the situation back in June. And I spoke to the complainant, and of course, we were ready to pull the trigger on the story. And the complainant actually requested that we not do so because her lawyers were in talks with, and I don't know what they were talking about, but they were in talks with whoever. And I said, okay. We, especially when it comes to anything to do with a potential, sexual harassment complaint or anything of that sort, we try to be very, very gracious, and considerate of the complainant, right? So listen, folks, I've got a 3-page letter in my hands that the complainant actually wrote, okay? One of the first questions I ask when people come to me and they make an allegation, I've been assaulted, I've been beaten up, this has happened to me, blah, 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 blah. I say, did you report it to the police? This is important because if you're going to take someone seriously, like, listen, if you assault me, if you damage my property, if you do anything like that, you better believe I'm going to go through the legal route. I'm going to file a complete report, and I'm going to hope that the police actually do their jobs and do something about it. I was told, yes, the police have been contacted. And, the more I reflect on this situation and this complaint against Bernie Bush, the more I saw a shifting of versions of the story of what actually happened. So initially back in late June, I was told, yes, the police had been contacted. Now, there's a difference between contacting the police and actually filing a formal complaint. There actually is a difference, right? So I said, right. Well, if the police have been contacted, then they have a police report. I emailed the RCIPS. And they came back and said, I said, are you guys investigating any complaints against a sitting MP, blah, blah, blah. They said, no, they basically know nothing about it. I said, what? That's bizarre and weird. Why wouldn't they know anything about it? Like, if you've contacted the police, like, they're going to take this stuff seriously, right? Anywho, I'm just pulling up my messages. I want to refresh my memory on the chain of events here. And so I went back to the person. I said, this is weird because the police are saying that they don't have a complaint. They don't know anything about it. Basically, what came back was, my lawyer's dealing with it. Let my lawyer deal with it. Okay. So I left it alone. Then it reared its head a couple weeks ago again. And I said, this is starting to make the rounds. Wagwan, what's going on here? What is this? Where is it with your lawyer? What's your lawyer doing? They're dealing with it. Okay. Let me give you all my assessment. And I do have this letter in my hand. I'm going to share some of the details of this letter with you because this is a 3-page letter about what transpired. Okay. First of all, let us just get to the nuts of the situation, quite literally, okay? You have got to, MPs, every single one of you, Chuck, I'm going to monitor it and I will do my best to quickly come back on. So that because I know our radio listeners in particular want to hear this. It's happening every 5 minutes like it did last time. After the show, we'll try to get it sorted out. So I think Marlon has to look at some logs and stuff. But I want our radio listeners to really have the benefit of getting this breakdown. So I'll keep monitoring it, Chuck, and I'll keep quickly connecting as quickly as I can. So listen, I have talked to this bunch of MPs before. Remember when they first got in, there was a BRAC trip and there was some complaint about, behavior on this BRAC trip. There are MPs who, let me tell you something. The behavior that they engage in on a regular basis, and we've seen this rear its head with Chris Saunders in a formal way, because civil servants were formally complaining about his behavior, him trying to, sexually harass them, not trying to, sexually harassing them at work and all this stuff. Can I just send out this memo? I've talked about it several times before. We are now in 2023. A lot of you have done stuff in your lives. There are allegations of sexual abuse against some of you, of straight out rape over the years, right? Inappropriate conversations. A lot of you are cheating on your wives, and I know it. A wife should know it too, but I definitely know it. You are very, very bold in your behavior. Given that we live in 2023, the year of the hashtag Me Too movement continues. I am shocked at, quite frankly, how stupid a lot of you all are. That you would engage in this kind of behavior and not think that it's going to come back to bite you in the rear end. What is wrong with you? Right? You're so used to being so like lowball and, you can say anything kind of thing. Really? You cannot do, if you thought you could do it before, you can no longer do it. Stop it. Don't bite women when you go to the Ritz, right? Don't assault women at other venues. Don't pull their hair. Don't punch them. Don't say anything out of the way to nobody. There's a saying that if you don't want your granny to hear you say something or do something, like use that as your litmus test. Like, I'm about to say this. Would my grandmother approve of this? Could I say that in front of granny and she would be okay with it? Because if your answer is going to be no, then simply do not say it. Do not do it. Yeah? It's as simple as that. Now, Bernie Bush and the complainant have a relationship. They're both West Bears, and I understand that they're friendly, and this is, the kind of banter that in the past he would have been able to say to her. 2 mistakes you made, Bernie Bush. Number 1, don't say it, none at all. Number 2, why are you saying it in the workplace? Okay? If somebody is at work, you do not say any kind of, don't make sexual jokes. Don't make inappropriate jokes about your parts. Just don't do it. Alejandro says, leave the woman them alone. Yes. I don't know why y'all always, your little brain, it's like you're thinking with the wrong head. Your brain is always in the gutter and you think these little jokes are funny. It might be funny to you. It may be in a different setting, like in a bar or something. I don't know. After somebody's had a few drinks, they might have thought it was funny. I do not know. What I do know is when you're in a professional environment in an office, I don't want to hear anything about your man parts. Okay? And the sad thing is, I've told you guys before, this isn't the first time that this has happened. We had another, he's not even an MP, wannabe MP. He was running for one of the outer districts. He actually showed up to a job interview over at the Compass, trying to get the co-hosting job for their talk show before they axed it. And what was he doing? Talking about how well endowed he is, as though that was a requirement to be a talk show host over at Rooster. And he said it to, an American woman. She didn't appreciate it. She considered it sexual harassment. Now, in her case, she actually did go to the police and filed a police report. And the police were like, okay, it's offensive. It's sexual harassment. But guess what? There's actually no law against sexually harassing anybody yet. And this is one of the reasons that we keep pushing this government. Premier Panton, please tell us when this is going to come into force. So every 5 minutes, this connection is dropping. So Chuck, I'm keeping an eye on it and I'm reconnecting, right? So it is egregious and disgusting for us to hear these stories. She was so offended that she filed a police report. That's what you do when you're truly offended. You file a police report. When you lawyer up and ask for $770,000, $750,000, my apologies, in compensation, people then start to question what your real motives are. Now, two things are going to happen if you approach me with your foolishness. I'm going to take my leg and I'm going to extend it, flex knee, and I'm going to kick you in your nuts. That's one possibility. Verbally, I'm going to tell you something that you're not going to like. That's the other possibility. And the third possibility, depending on how egregious it is, because if you touch me, we can have a problem, that might actually involve getting the police involved. Yes? Okay. The police weren't able to do anything about this woman. And trust me, that comment that budding MP made to her was far more egregious than what I'm hearing that Bernie Bush said, right? So the allegation against Bernie is that he was making a comment, and we're going to read it here in the letter, and he made a self-defacing joke, I guess, about how small his man parts are. Bernie, we don't care. Okay? Let us be very, very clear. We don't care about the size of your man parts. You are a minister in government, for God's sake. Be professional at all times, right? Wear your professional hat. People are watching you. People are judging you. You're a representative of the people. Now, does that warrant a lawsuit of $750,000? No. Straight up. This is the most ridiculous thing I've seen in a minute. So this letter was penned by the complainant, and then it was in wide circulation. My understanding is, despite the fact that we were ready to pull the trigger on this story from way back in June, she was sharing this with multiple people, creating a certain narrative, and I'm not here to question her narrative, but I'm here to tell you that people heard multiple versions of this story, and they started to question how much of it was really true versus how much of it was actually trying to get $750,000 out of Wayne Panton. I don't know where y'all think Wayne Panton got $750 stashed away, but anywho, if y'all know where the stash is, talk to me, okay? So when you start handing out, listen, if you're truly distressed about a situation, first of all, I would be so embarrassed. Like, I don't think I'd be going on telling every Tom, Dick, and Harry about it, right? You're saying that you need therapy. You're in therapy. The thing that was said to me is that he has to pay for my therapy. Well, I know the cost of living in Cayman is uber high. Yes, drink your apple cider to that. However, the last time I checked, there's no therapy sessions in Cayman that's going to run you almost $1 million. I don't know what kind of gold star therapists these are. So having someone pay for your therapy session might be if you really were traumatized by it, might be a fair request. But when you start saying that you need $750,000, I'm not so sure about that part of the situation. When other people also say that you've had a relationship with Bernie Bush, the two of you, you have this banter and he's joked like this. Listen, let me say this because I've said it before, right? We all go through transitions in life, right? When you were in your 20s, you might have been a roving, out in these streets, doing the most with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Lucy, and Diane, and Samantha, okay? Getting your freaky on. And then you hit a particular age, and you want to change your life. There's nothing wrong with that, because y'all know in the Christian faith, we believe people can change, honey child. But one interesting observation that I have made is that people who are at the one spectrum of things, like in other words, they were the biggest blah, blah, blah out in these streets, they turn around and want to be the biggest Christians you ever saw. I think it's human nature. We're coming up in 5 minutes again, Chuck. I'm going to restart. I think a little bit of it is human nature. Like, you're trying to overcompensate for all that you feel like you've done. I guess this is your penance now, is to try to be like, you're going to put up Bible verses on social media every single day. You go from one extreme to the next. Now, it does make me uncomfortable when people feel the necessity to do that, because I don't think it's necessary, right? Your belief system Your belief in God, your belief in redemption, that's between you and God. Yeah, you can be redeemed. It's not whatever. Like, you don't have to be like every little thing, like, oh my God, let's pray about, oh my gosh, a mosquito hit me in my face. Okay, let's pray about it. We're gonna ask the Lord now to please heal this wound. Lord, dear God. Yeah, it's almost to that level of ridiculousness, right? That you have to prove to people that you're so reformed. Child, just reform yourself and live your best life. Okay. I don't care to have the constant, like, in your face, like, over exaggeration of your belief system, just because you feel like, oh my gosh, I've been out there doing the most and now I have to do a complete 360. Maybe not. But if you change, the other interesting thing about it is when you've changed, I kind of think that people might not recognize that you have changed. This is a bit of a quandary, don't you think? 9362626. Anybody who has changed and you become, an overnight Christian. Some of my family members could feel free to call in this morning as well, because I've seen it within my own family, sister. Feel free to call in, because now you're overcompensating for being this horrible person your entire life. But some people don't see the change yet. It takes a while for this change to fully be realized. And so if you're in a particular relationship with someone, here's an example. Say you had a little boyfriend on the side, right? And the two of you, whatever. Now that you jump up one day, get baptized, you're a big time Christian, he might still be trying to make the moves on you. The truth of the matter is, you got to put the brakes on that person. Say, listen, I'm a changed person now, or I'm trying to be a changed person. I have a different lifestyle. I have a different, I'm trying something different now. I'm all about the God. I'm on the God train. Don't say those things to me. I think it is fair for you to give a person a warning shot, don't you? So if you and Bernie Bush were friends prior to this, and you would think this joke was funny before you became a Christian, or before you changed, or before you whatever, don't you think you should say to him, please don't talk to me like that anymore? You're friends, right? And if your friend who has known you for donkey years is used to conversing with you in a particular way, and you no longer want that type of a conversation with them, just tell them, don't talk to me like that anymore. I've done that. We can no longer have these types of conversations. It's no longer appropriate. Ain't nothing wrong with it. All right, dear sir/madam. By the way, I'm going to have to call Juliana O'Connor Connolly out this morning. I know she's going to be upset and she's not going to like it, but Miss Julie, I do question what you be doing half the time. You claim that you're going to retire after this election. I don't know why you're lying to the people that Cayman Islands first and foremost, because I can say with 100% certainty that you planning on going nowhere. Y'all, you and McKeever Bush need to stop lying to the people about, oh, this is it. This is your last term. You're retiring, blah, blah, blah. Because, folks, that is a bold-faced lie. And y'all know how I feel about liars now. Okay, I'm going to get to her in a second. Let's follow the storyline. It is with great distress that I find myself having to write you at this time. However, the repercussions of my interaction with Bernie Bush, hereafter called Bernie, in February of 2023 on International Women's Day was, to say the least, disturbing and disgusting. It has been a difficult time for me since the incident, and it has caused great difficulty and suffering. Mentally, physically, and spiritually, I've had a significant setback in my life. Okay. The saddest thing of this, I did not ask, in bold and caps, for Bernie to come into my space, my mind, or my life for that matter. Interesting. Bernie's inconsideration and, quite frankly, disgraceful behavior at the reception fund, let me leave that out, the location, was one that I would have called the police to have him removed from GAB and arrested. Since the incident took place, I've been unable to sleep well, unable to get what he said out of my head. I've been crying, feeling depressed, and questioning myself about why I did not call the police immediately. Let me pause there. As someone who has, even myself, been in situations and dealt with police and, something happens, I appreciate that sometimes in the moment that something is happening, your reaction isn't what it should immediately be. But the question is, here we are all of these months later. Yes? Why have the police still not been called? Even if back in February, the day International Women's Day, whatever day that was in February, right? You were not moved that day to call the police. If you were truly distressed, physically suffering, emotionally suffering, spiritually suffering, all this suffering, that means that something traumatic have happened to you. Okay? And what that means in my mind is all these months later, you should have called the police. You should have filed a report. I found out about this in June. This incident happened in February. And by the way, other people have said to me that the complainant back in May was making threats if she doesn't get this money, if she doesn't get a payout, I have the letter and she's going to come to me with this full expose and this full story. Now, folks, if you don't know anything about me, please make a note. Clase, atención, atención. I need y'all to make a note in your little notebooks, okay? If you know nothing else about me, know this. I do not like liars. I don't like them in my personal space. I don't like them in my personal life. I don't like them as politicians. I don't like them walking the streets, okay? And the last thing you should ever do, if you have 1 degree of sense, is to mix me up in your story if the story is not truthful. Because these things have a way of coming out, you know. So how is it that people out in the streets can tell me that in May, my name was being called up, CMR has this letter, CMR has this evidence, we're going to do a full expose when I didn't know anything about it until the end of June? Because, you know, once I hear that, I'm going to be like, no. Let's correct and set the record straight. I knew nothing about this till the end of June. I knew nothing about it in May. So that's a problem. Why would you need to tell someone that? It was what I heard to put pressure on the government. In fact, one of my sources, I'll put it to you this way, had the following to say in relation to this. They said, listen, it became very, very obvious to them, and, you know, I hate to tell you that this person's a woman, so this is not a man who's trying to take up for Bernie Bush. They said the credibility in all of this has really been called into question. There are numerous demands for money from both, personally from Wayne Panton. Like I said, show me the money bag. I want to know where Wayne Panton, he's like the little, what's the little green man called? The little leprechaun holding the pot of gold somewhere, right? And that if he didn't pay, the complainant was going to go to the media. Back in May, the storyline was that after his written apology, right? You know, that wasn't enough, needed money, and CMR was in on it. No. We not in on nothing. I didn't know anything about this until much later in June. When we inquired, we checked with the police. The police said we don't have any complaints. So from February to June, you feel so aggrieved by this that you don't make a complaint to the RCIPS? I don't know what the date on this letter is that's been circulating for a while. But even if in the moment, like I said, in the moment, you know, you're like confused, you don't know what to do, right? You now have the benefit of legal advice. Surely your lawyer should say, this amounts to a criminal act. Contact the RCIPS. Let's file a police report. Why are you talking about money? Why is the $750,000 the focus here? That makes me uncomfortable, to say the least. Yeah? All right. So here's the accusation. And again, even the nature of the accusation has also changed, which is quite interesting. All right. So Bernie walked up to my workspace and said, you have $5 I can borrow. This is in red now. Red. Want to make sure. Hold on. I think we're coming up in 5 minutes. We have to restart the radio. All right. 4 and 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right. You have $5 I can borrow. I replied, Mr. Bush, if you need $5, I can certainly lend it to you and you can bring it back for me later. Bernie's reply was, yes, lend me that $5 so I can buy a small pack of condoms because the ones I tried on him last night didn't fit. They were too big. And I have a small. And then he used a particular word, which we cannot use on radio. Okay. Then he proceeds to grab his crotch area to further emphasize his point, or this comment, it says. I was so shocked and stunned that I was at a total loss for words. I was embarrassed and quite frankly felt degraded as a woman, but more importantly, as a let me not say the title, because that gives away who the person is. We're not interested in that. Okay, I was also very embarrassed for my department, my ministry, the deputy governor, the premier, and the entire GAB staff and guests alike. Okay, except he didn't say it to all those people. So, all right. Bernie's actions were not only a criminal offense, but a great insult and disrespect to the entire government and people of the Cayman Islands. All right, let me stop right there for a second. If Bernie's actions were a criminal offense, and you've now had an opportunity to think about this, and you believe that it is a criminal offense, what do you do when someone has committed a criminal offense? You pick up the phone, 949-4222, or even call 911 if it's urgent. A crime has been committed. I am the victim of said crime, and I need to file a police report. Why do the police not have a police report? Now, here's another thing that is unfortunate about the situation. All of a sudden, there is this rhetoric going around. And again, I do not like people who are dishonest. It's a flaw that some people just have in their personalities, and y'all need to get with the program. Who then put out this narrative that the premier has sought to interfere with the course of justice. And the premier, a police report was filed, and the premier has spoken to the police commissioner and made sure this has gone nowhere. Whoa. I've got to tell you something. If my name was Wayne Panton and I heard someone making such an allegation against me, I would sue you. I would sue the pants off of you, because this is a very serious allegation, folks. The sitting premier of this country is being caught up in a situation where one of his ministers has said something that he should have never said. It was inappropriate, right? Whether it's a criminal act or not, the fact that you haven't filed a police report to have the DPP decide if it's a criminal act is a problem. File your police report. It's not too late. I would suggest you do it now and see what the DPP's office has to say. But for you to put a narrative out there that the premier of this country has gone about trying to, cover this up is ridiculous. And this is where I go to bat for people, because when right is right and wrong is wrong, there's no gray area for me. Okay? I am not here to defend Premier Panton, right? I am not his lawyer. I'm not his bodyguard. But one thing I must say is this man has consistently, in his position to protect women, has consistently kept his messaging and his actions in line with each other. He was the only MP of all that, well, he wasn't even MP at the time, right? Of all MPs, past and present, that was out there, I should say past and present at that time, that was out there actually, that was out there protesting when Mr. Bush had assaulted this woman. He was the only one who publicly said, we support her. You are supported. #MeToo. He has fired one of his own government ministers because of his unbelievable behavior against women. Women who are so afraid that they were too afraid to go to the police. They were too afraid for retaliation. And so the one person they felt like they could trust in this moment was Premier Panton. And you know what? They had to do certain things because the premier can't make that type of a decision and fire a minister without you making formal complaints, even within government and statements. So he had to follow a certain protocol and a certain process, but he fired his own government minister and took the risk of destabilizing his own government to stand for and with women. And now people think that it's cute, $750,000 later, that you can throw out these comments that, oh, he's trying to interfere with justice. Let me tell you something. That type of an allegation, number one, it's criminal, right? To try to interfere with the course of justice, that's actually a criminal offense. So you're accusing the premier of this country of engaging in a criminal offense because Bernie making a comment, which he says was a joke about how small his man parts are? Are you kidding me? You're lucky that not me, because I would sue the bejesus off of you and anybody else who repeated such a ridiculous thing. Now, the irony of it is I also know that there are other people in government who have criminal investigations ongoing, who have been charged with criminal things that are going through the court system right now. And they themselves are of the opinion that the premier should somehow help them out and tell the DPP what to do. The premier would never. He is an attorney at law. I think he would still be an attorney. He would never in a million years do anything of the sort and interfere with justice. If he did, trust me, we would string him up by his nuts right here on this show. I do not believe that for 1 minute. But to now tell these different versions of the story and try to put the premier's reputation, both as the premier of this country and as, a lawyer, someone who knows about upholding the values of the court and the law and the justice system, to talk about he's trying to cover up for Bernie Bush and he has told the police commissioner. So now you're also throwing the former police commissioner under the bus, because I can't believe that he would allow anyone to come to him and tell him what to do and what not to do with an investigation. That is a very serious allegation. And the worst part about it is there are people in our community who would believe it. Oh, well, politics, blah, blah. I was like, do you understand the magnitude of that allegation alone? Let me start sipping my apple cider vinegar, because y'all listen. You'd have to tread very, very lightly if you're making that kind of allegation against me, because that is at the height of corruption. That is a very, very serious allegation. Anyway, let's go back to the letter, and I'm going to get to some of your comments here in a second. I'm also watching the time every 5 minutes. We'll reconnect so our radio listeners can continue to hear us. We ended with this point about that it's not only a criminal offense, but a great insult and disrespect to the entire government and the people of the Cayman Islands. Well, I tell you what, these MPs and people in general do a lot, and people say a lot. A man talking about and this is just my opinion, you can have your own opinion. A man talking about, making this inappropriate joke about his, pee-pee being too small, I think is rude. It's uncalled for. Do I believe that that's a criminal offense? No, I don't think that that's a criminal offense. And I think that the parties involved, everybody knows that it's not a criminal offense, and that's why the police was never called. That's why a police report has never been filed, because even the lawyer that has been retained, right? Yes, sir. To, try to collect this $750,000 would have advised you if you think this is a criminal offense. That is not a criminal offense. It is a disgusting, inappropriate joke, right? Does it amount to a criminal offense? I do not think so. But again, if you believe that that was the case, it would be your right to go to the RCIPS, file a police report, and have the DPP's office tell you in their legal and professional opinion whether they think it's a criminal offense or not. It would have been quite easy to do that. Anyhow, where am I? He was selfish, perhaps, and only thought of how he could bring attention to himself while insulting the modesty of a woman. That's actually not the definition of insulting a modesty of a woman, but let's get back to that in a second. Sexual misconduct and using indecent language to another person. He might have thought that he was being funny, but his actions were despicable and sick. So even in this letter, there is a recognition that the way that he said it, probably, we were not there, but the way that he said it and what he said was meant to be a joke, because it says that he may have thought that he was being funny, but his actions were despicable and sick. And there's a lot of jokes. Like people say things that I might not find funny, but they think it's funny. You might not find funny. By the way, there's an accident in West Bay Road. Thank you so much, down by the Marriott. If you're in the area, try to avoid it. So yes, I get that about, it wasn't funny to you. I totally understand. Again, just because you don't find something funny, amusing, or whatever, that doesn't elevate it to a criminal act. Okay. So give me 1 second. We're going to restart here in just a second. And then I'm going to look at some of these videos coming in about the accident. Okay. So let me see how bad this accident looks. Woo, honey child. Lord have mercy. Whoa, y'all can't drive. No, sir. Uh-huh. All right. I'll pull up some of these videos. Thank you so much, folks, for sharing the accident videos. Only reiterating that y'all can't drive. But I guess we knew that already. Okay. All right. So, right, let's continue reading the letter. Let me see. Okay. So he was selfish, perhaps. Being selfish is normally a criminal act, but anyway. He might have thought that he was being funny, but his actions were despicable and sick. Until this very day, every time Bernie comes through the doors of, let's just say, government, I feel nauseated and want to throw up. Well, could this possibly be an overreaction? Is there something else going on here between Bernie and this individual? I don't really know, to be honest. But I've had people say stuff to me, and I might give them the side eye when I see them, and I might not like them. But the trauma that this woman is claiming, that she feels nauseated and wanting to throw up every single time she sees him at work, seems a bit extreme when he just said, oh, I need about $5 to buy a condom for my really small BB. What? Okay. All right, let's continue. I also had thoughts of what others who were present to hear Mr. Bernie's comments to me thought of me, and if he was implying that he wanted to have sex with me for money. It just goes to show how Bernie really felt about me. I'm confused. How does him saying, let him borrow $5 to buy a small size condom, mean that he wants to have sex with you? He didn't direct, and even the question of insulting the modesty of a woman, he didn't actually say anything to you. That's not what the definition of insulting the modesty of a woman is. I'm a little bit confused, but okay. I had to go back into therapy with my psychologist, which has placed a lot of unnecessary stress on me and my family. I've had so many confrontational discussions with my husband because of the way Bernie disrespected me. But your husband wasn't there, so your husband is getting your version of the story. And why would your husband be confronting you? Like, well, what is this really all about? My husband and I have had problems since this incident, and it has had a negative impact on our family's lives. In fact, my husband and I have recently separated because he felt I should have taken Bernie to court. Say what? What? All right, folks, give me a second. I do need to clear my sinuses. So this would be an appropriate time to take a commercial break and then try to dissect exactly what I just read.
Meanwhile, at the Burger King's castle. Underling, what news?
Sire, behold, the fiery jalapeno cheese!
You might say it's jalapeno.
Please don't, sire. It's jalapenos with spicy cream cheese sauce and American cheese.
And it's jalapeno?
Please, sire.
Introducing the new fiery jalapeno cheese at Burger King. Plain grilled patties covered in jalapenos, spicy creamy cheese sauce, and American cheese. Available in extra long and king size for a limited time only. Grab it late at 7 Mile Beach or Red Bay. Open till midnight Thursdays and 1 a.m. Fridays and Saturdays.
It's jalapeno face.
Vehicles are not only unsightly, they also lower the quality of life in our neighborhoods and pose serious public health and safety risk. To report a derelict vehicle, please call the Department of Environmental Health on 949-6696.
Be a part of the solution, not the pollution. Littering is a crime punishable by a $500 fine or 6 months in prison. Brought to you by the Beautification Task Force and Ministry of Tourism and Ports.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. My apologies. Forgot to unmute myself. Chuck, I think you should be able to hear me now. Yes? Okay. So to me, this is very, very bizarre. This person is saying that her marriage has now broken down. Her husband and her have separated over the fact that Bernie Bush made this comment, and the husband obviously is of the opinion that that she should take him to court. I don't understand this. I mean, listen, we're all married. Well, some of us are married. Some of y'all got girlfriends, whatever. And, you know, sometimes you make a decision that your spouse may or may not agree with. But I'm okay. Hold on one second, Chuck. Let me just change this back then. But I'm really confused and perplexed at why your husband would separate from you over this situation. Your husband thinks that you should take him to court. What kind of court are we talking about? Your husband thought that you should file a police report and attempt to have him criminally charged, or does your husband think that you need to take him to civil court and try to recover $750,000? That's not the kind of thing that you separate with your spouse from. This whole thing makes no logical sense to me. I'm just, oh, when did this storm come out the window, y'all? Wow. I'm just not understanding it. What husband leaves you because a man says something rude and out of the way, which you went and told the husband? The husband only has your version of it, right? But then your husband is going to break up the marriage because he felt I should take Bernie to court? Honey child, if your husband is leaving you over something that is that trivial, when the real things hit in life, your husband not going to be able to handle it. I mean, I don't know what kind of relationship this is, but to me, this sounds a bit contrived, and I do not believe this for 1 second. And if your husband has really left you over, or he thinks that you should take him to court, then your husband not got no damn sense. And I hate to tell you, you should probably leave him in any event. All right, the letter continues. Like I said, it's a 3-page letter, so work with me here, folks. I've had a very difficult childhood and many struggles growing up. I was physically abused by my father at the age of 14. And this is all in the letter. And like I said, this letter was circulated by the complainant quite widely to a number of people. All right, so she says that she was abused by her father at the age of 14. And in that, he was upset with my mother and decided to beat me 40 times with a police belt buckle. Jesus Christ. I managed to run away and go to Miss So-and-so's house. When I arrived at Miss So-and-so's house, my body had begun to swell. I was then rushed over to Aunt So-and-so's house. And by the time I reached there, my body had swollen 3 times the normal size. Make it impossible to remove my clothing stuck to my body, and it was soaked in blood. Each time they tried to take it off, I would scream. I was then rushed to the hospital where I was treated at the emergency room. The doctors and nurses were absolutely stunned at the extent of my injuries. They had to pour warm oil into my pants, where most of the trauma was. Warm oil. And then proceed to peel the clothing off slowly. Warm oil? Why did you pour warm oil on somebody who's been beaten? Okay, I'm not a doctor. It took approximately 2 hours to complete. All right. After this horrible experience, my Aunt So-and-so insisted on me going into therapy, and she had seen signs of depression from this terrible beating from my father. Well, that's horrible. I wonder if your father, did anybody take him to court? He should be in jail. That's child abuse. Anyway, this was so embarrassing as all of my friends and family were made aware of what had happened to me and that I was in therapy. Well, who would have made them aware? Okay, let's continue. Came out at the time was not as populated as it is now, and so it was well known throughout the district what had happened to me. Now, fast forward to 2016, I was hired for a temp job within government, and my immediate supervisor sexually assaults me. I reported the matter to the proper authorities and then spent the next 2 years resolving this matter outside of the public eye in court. The individual who assaulted me was since dismissed from her post. Her post. So a woman sexually assaulted you? I was internalizing all my anger and frustration from this incident, which led to me having to go into therapy. I spent 2.5 years in therapy again. Okay. One must also note that I am in a really great place. I was in a really great place, when Bernie took it upon himself to make an unnecessary joke, and they put that in quotes, at my expense, literally. But the joke wasn't about you. This is where I'm confused. It wasn't at your expense because it wasn't about you. It was about him. It was a self-deprecating joke about himself. You heard the joke. He might have said it to you, and I don't know if he was specifically, I mean, you said he's asked the bar to $5, and that's what he said, but the joke wasn't about you. It was about Bernie. So I'm not understanding this fully. Okay? Goes on to say, when this incident took place, I was celebrating my 25th anniversary of sobriety. On that same day, I was surprised by my department, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get into detail because I might identify the person. I was so happy, so excited, and most importantly, ecstatic about the direction that my life was taken. My family was happy. Everybody's doing well. I was making progress in my personal endeavors when Bernie decided to be a comedian at my expense. So again, there is an acknowledgement here multiple times that this was a joke. By the way, folks, if you're in the Eastern Districts, there's a detour through Agricola Road coming from Bodden Town. I think it might be road works, but I'm not 100% sure. Or it could be an accident. Okay? All right, let's keep this going here, honey child. This story gets more interesting by the minute. So this incident has sent me right back into therapy. I was faced with a wide range of emotional feelings. I felt like I wanted to die. I felt small. I felt anger. I felt like I wanted him to be just as embarrassed as he made me feel. I felt like it didn't matter what I did in this life. I would always find people like Bernie to make me feel insignificant. The whole incident pushed me over the edge, and I started to have feelings of frustration, impatience, and loss of hope. Something is off. In law, y'all know I went to law school, honey child, and I do have a law degree. So thank you. Somebody said the Detours for Water Authority works. Thank you to our astute listeners. In law, there is a principle that you find someone as you take them, like you find your victim as you take them. So if your victim, has certain peculiarities, emotional distress, whatever, you kind of find them as you take them. But to me, this is not adding up. As someone who knows Bernie quite well and undoubtedly would have heard all sorts of jokes from Bernie over the umpteenth years that they grew up together and that they were friends. I'm not friends with Bernie. People say that he can be crude and crass, and that's who he is. I suggest he makes some adjustments. But again, the reaction here seems really, really over the top. You want him to die because Bernie's joking about the size of his own manhood? Why would you want to die about that? And I don't like to question how people feel about comments or situations, but I struggle to understand this one on all levels. I struggle really, really hard for this to make any sense. Anyway, she's saying this is how she felt. Then she said Bernie's reaction to my reporting him to the deputy governor was not received well by him. After I reported him to the DG, Bernie came to the area, frustrated and angry. He slammed his hand down on the counter and stated, "I need to talk to you now." Okay, all in caps. I assisted my customers, and then one customer saw the rage in Bernie's face and the way he was pacing back and forth behind me. And the customer said, "What's the problem? He looks really angry and upset." I did not say anything to them regarding the incident. However, they insisted that he was going to stay around until Bernie finished speaking to me because he didn't like the way that Bernie was acting. After I turned to Bernie to find out what he needed, he stated, "You think I didn't hear or what? Think I don't know you told on me? In fact, I know you reported me." By this time, he had raised his voice, bringing more attention to the scene he was creating. "But let me tell you something." And he calls her name, which we're not going to call on radio. "I have been telling that joke for 20 years, and no one, including women, Lord Jesus, never got offended. But since you got offended, I was told to come downstairs and apologize." Then he walks away. That was even more insulting than him making a joke. Bernie believes that he has the right, she puts that in quotes, to make jokes at another person's expense, and this infuriated me that he would actually get offended for me reporting him. Again, the joke wasn't at your expense. It was actually at his expense because the joke is about him. So I don't know. There's some fundamental misunderstanding about the joke. Like the joke clearly did not go over well. It missed the mark completely. Okay. Let's continue, folks. So I was later asked on by the DG to go to a meeting with the Premier's office on May, of which I attended with my lawyer, Clyde Allen. When we got to the meeting, the Premier's office was represented by Miss Pilar Bush. Miss Bush started the meeting by saying that there was an incident and we discussed the matter in great detail. Mr. Allen stated that there were several occasions when Bernie had made other disturbing comments to other staff members throughout GAB on a regular basis, and then a lot of them were right in the GAB. Mr. Bush was mortified at the thought that all these disgusting comments were made in the GAB. Mrs. Bush, sorry, Pilar, that is. One complaint was Bernie stated to a few ladies on the 5th floor, "I don't speak to niggas, especially black Caymanians." Another was said to a female employee, "You don't have to speak to me because when I finish work today, I go home and take your husband away." Okay. Bernie went on to say that, "I don't see why anyone getting offended. I tell jokes like this all the time." He further insisted that, "I'm a nigga, my mother's a nigga, and I can call people nigger all the time." Lord Jesus. What a mess. Ms. Bush then stated that Bernie had a letter of apology to present to me, but the letter, see attached, was not stating what Bernie had said, but vaguely stated that he was sorry and not dealing with what he had done. Okay. This unnecessary incident has left me a very uneasy feeling and has not been easy since it occurred. I am therefore seeking compensation from Bernie in a civil lawsuit, citing irreconcilable differences, which has fractured my marriage. I'm constantly crying at home. I'm not eating properly, and I'm affected, and it has affected my exercise routine. The incident has also started to affect me at work because every time I see Bernie, I'm absolutely sick into my stomach. People see me smile, but no one knows what I feel inside. At one of the most crucial times in my life, where I was finally feeling a sense of accomplishment in my life, when now I have to deal with this matter. It's unfortunate, but it is necessary for others not to have to go through this experience with Bernie or anyone else. I'm seeking compensation from Bernie for my lawyer's fees amounting to $2,950 and my fees for my counseling from Wellness Center. And then they named the person, the counselor. I'm also seeking damages for Bernie's role in disrupting my life with meetings, counseling, etc., and the amount of $750,000 for past fees and for future fees for my counseling and well-being. Kindly let me know how you can help me at this really difficult time in my life. And that is how the letter ends. So $750,000, $2,000 in change for legal fees, and then fees for counseling from the Wellness Center. Doesn't the Wellness Center give free counseling? I mean, wouldn't government pay for that? If you have, most employers, if they go through the Wellness Center, that's a benefit. Do you actually have to pay to go through the Wellness Center? So listen, I get the sense that something isn't right here. I don't know what other kind of relationship this person had with Bernie Bush. And if they had heard countless jokes from him in the past, like I said, at some point in time, you needed to say to Bernie Bush, I don't like your jokes. Don't say them around me. Don't let me hear them. You know, I'm insulted, blah, blah, blah. Clearly, that has never happened. Is Bernie crass and rude? Yes. Bernie, if you're paying attention today, you have got to stop saying these jokes around people. You're going to insult people. Is it a criminal act? In my humble opinion, it does not amount to a criminal act. Is it an act that requires $750,000 worth of counseling? I think that if it has affected you in such a way that there's much more going on here with you, and it has nothing to do with Bernie Bush. Let's be very, very clear here, right? So there's only two logical explanations, folks, that any reasonable person could glean from this. On the one hand, this is either what we would call in, layman's terms, a money grab, a shakedown, whatever you want to call it, or you really are having some sort of a breakdown that does require professional intervention, but quite frankly, it has nothing to do with Bernie Bush. I do note with interest the two instances that were mentioned. One at the age of 14, where your father, it says, physically abused you because he beat you with 40 times with his police belt buckle. I mean, that's horrific. I keep telling y'all, you're damaging your children in the name of chastising them. The fact that he was a police and he would even do something like that is shocking and disturbing. And, your issues probably have more to do with that type of environment, growing up in that type of environment. I can't believe that anybody, especially a police officer, would beat a child with a belt buckle 40 times. And, you seem to have very, very strong memories of the physical trauma of that, what happened at the hospital and all this kind of thing. And then you fast forward to 2016, when you're working in a temp position with government, and then a female supervisor sexually assaults you. I don't know. It didn't say what kind of assault that was. I mean, I don't know what the woman did. I don't know if she grabbed you, can women rape each other? I guess if they have an object, I don't know what that means. It didn't say rape or anything. It said a sexual assault. And that required a further 2.5 years in therapy. Again, something not adding up here. Let's look at your comments, folks, and see what's going on. Blackberry, good morning, says maybe she feels pressured, by the threat of the husband leaving, hence the demand for the $750,000. I don't know. The husband, something not adding up. Alejandro says it's rude and just know your limits. That's all. Johan says, Auntie Sandy, the next time you cuss me out live in the air, you're going to pay me $750,000. I will not quit until you get your Johan, he gonna get cussed out again today if he's not careful. Alejandro says, but with the many foolishness I've seen and heard in my life, I wish that I could sue the public, but I don't have nightmares I don't have nightmares. I'll live. Darlene says these men, government reps especially, needs to keep their heads in the right space. Alejandro says traumatizing, talk about intrusive thoughts. Salvin says victims must be given space and time to get their emotional state of mind together. However, if such person was out to make money, then the other side of the law should kick in: scamming, fraud, theft, or all of the above. Siobhan says $750,000. She ain't gonna get that. She's overreacting. I don't know if anything is going on, but they know each other quite well. I mean, I've known of women who have been raped and have never even demanded money. But if they did, look at the woman who was physically beaten by Makiva Bush. She got a couple $1,000s. Those are not words. Like, he physically assaulted her and was throwing her around in a kitchen and she was bruised, and that would be some friggin' trauma for you. Black and Blue, and compensation, she got a couple $1,000s. Oh, here's replacing your phone, your medical bills. I want to see this bill from the counseling center This person says Cayman Counseling Center offers free counseling for Caymanians. Huh. What a hot mess. I don't know. This sounds pretty crazy to me. All right, your messages coming in fast and furious. Let's try to get through some of them. Our radio listeners, thank you for your patience. I keep restarting it. I'm monitoring it every 5 minutes, and we'll try to get to the bottom of what's causing that so that hopefully we can be back to normal tomorrow. Rough C says, if you want to get him back, just wave him your pinky finger in public every time you see him. What does that mean? Your pinky finger? Wave him your pinky finger? What? Alejandro says, talk about cutting links. Jackie says, glad you brought this up. Sounds pretty weird to me. This is a time when we got to be real. Well, this is a time where we want to be real. We want to be sure, real cases are dealt with properly. Sounds like bad taste joke and overreaction of the small peanut in the room. Trust me, says Marshall, if they have separated over that, he wanted to go. Like I said, honey chill. Johan, we're going to skip that comment. Inspiring, thank you. Garrett says, good morning, welcome back. What did I miss? Oh, God. You miss a lot, honey chill. Alejandro says, not going to try and offend the husband, but that's ladylike. Blackberry says, that divorce and separation story sounds suspicious. Maybe the husband thinks the wife and Bernie are having an affair. I mean, that would make more sense. I don't see my husband leaving me because somebody insulted himself. It's just weird. I gotta tell you, the whole thing don't make no sense. Okay. Let me see here now. Let me get this other comment up. Where was this one saved? This person sent this on WhatsApp. Okay, hold on. Oh, yes. Okay. All right. Does it make sense to anybody? Is there anybody who says this makes sense? $750,000 is legit. Someone lying in the situation says Alejandro. Al Ray says sounds like a cockamamie story. Irvin says amen. Dean says it's not adding up. Some missing pieces to this puzzle. Blackberry says maybe she feels pressured by the threat of we read that one. Yes. She's suing for emotional damages, but from what I was told, he makes jokes like this all the time, but he shouldn't have said it anyhow, which I agree. I hope Bernie has learned a lesson. Johan says, Marshall, that was #savage. Nobody knows what goes on in either people's situation, etc. Thank you, Jav. D says, welcome back. Appreciate it. Alejandro says, I know people that freely make sexual comments, and it only reminds me of kids just learning about sex. Okay. I mean, there's a level of maturity here, right? I don't know what you're going around talking about your parts for anyway, but Sandy says, I heard that joke several times before from Bernie. Well, he needs some new material. If he wants to be a stand-up comedian, you retire from government and you do that. Siobhan says he made the joke about himself. She's overreacting, and for the husband to leave, there's more to it. Lavana says Bernie always runs his jokes, and they're usually about him. Gabby says, so he made a joke about himself, and it cost her marriage, her mental state, and I guess her money, as she's seeking $750,000. Miss Daphne says, Sandy, I love Bernie just for that. I never see him, and he never give me a joke and make me laugh. What? Sandy, I love Bernie just for that. I never see him and so he's always joking. Okay. I'm telling him to keep the sexual jokes to himself. Irvin said he's always joking, so why take it so serious? Alejandro says, for real, they're all jokes. If it felt personal, it should be said to him then and there. Now, let's move on. Hey, Miss Morna, to something else. Dean says maybe she wanted it why he joked about the size, just saying, no. Let's be very, very clear. Everybody has to take responsibility for their behavior. Okay. So we don't believe in victim shaming, victim blaming. She has felt a way about his comments. I personally think that her response is a bit unusual. However, she's entitled to her feelings. Facts are a whole different situation. Whether this amounted to a criminal act and so forth is a whole other matter as well. But let's not get into trying to shame her in any way about maybe she wanted Bernie Bush. I'm sure if they'd been friends for donkey years, if she wanted him, she probably could have had him. So let's not go there. She's a married woman. Let's continue to respect her, sanctity in that regard. Philip says Clyde Allen. Well, that speaks volumes. Looks like Cayman's ambulance chaser is stepping up his act. Whatever happened to all his problems at the court? I thought they had stopped him from practicing. On that note, where's my apple cider vinegar this morning? I will just sip that and mind my own business over here in the corner. Philip. Woo! This is my first sip of apple cider vinegar in 2 weeks, y'all. Oh my God. Johan says, so it's alleged that Bernie caused the marriage to break down. Okay, now this story just drove off the cliff. Father God, help us, says Johan. Thank you, Mr. Ransford. It's a money grab, says Gabby. Miss Darlene says, Bernie is Bernie. I've known him for over 50 years. I'm not saying that what took place was okay, but come on now. It sounds so off. Looks like she wants money to get her husband back. Money is the root of all evil. Just saying, says Miss Morna. Irvin says Bernie is a comedian. Well, I've never known him to be a comedian. She's plain and simple. I think he needs to give up that day job or go be a full-time comedian. So I'm not giving Bernie right. I want y'all to understand me very, very carefully here. The comment was inappropriate. Don't do it again, Bernie. But at the same time, is it a comment worth $750,000? No. Now, let's talk about the story. So the story came out in the Compass. Oh, somebody said pinky finger means small peepee. Oh, okay. This is 16-year-old stuff, y'all. I can't remember these conversations because when I was 16, I wasn't having those kind of conversations because, Aunt Lottie would have put her foot down. But anyhow, okay, Bernie. Okay, we got you now. I'm on the same page, everybody. Okay. So listen to me now. Oh, God. The Compass grabbed the story, and of course, everybody knows that the Compass needs a good read these days. Y'all wouldn't be reading it for any other reason, I hate to tell you. So congratulations to Rajma for getting this story. And the thing about it, though, Rajma, is you got to do your best to try to make sure that it's accurate. So, for example, when Miss Julie then jumps in after the fact and talking about, well, nothing was going on, there was no resolution. Nobody did anything to it. This is Julie taking a jab at the premier. Let me just be very, very clear. These politicians are so backstabby. My God, it's not even funny. Them love to backstab each other, you see? So she basically has claimed, and she said it, that nobody did anything until she came in her white horse, galloping in. Gallop, gallop, gallop. Come on in. Come on through, Aunt Julie. Tell us the truth now. She claims that she came galloping in to rescue the civil servant. Well, I do think on so many levels, my dear, that is beyond interesting. Because there have been numerous cases where women needed you to speak up and you to rescue them. And quite frankly, that has never happened. So I don't quite understand. I'm like, what? This is your time? Months after an incident that you're going to come to the rescue, galloping in on your white horse to rescue somebody? I'm not quite believing this. I'm thinking this has more to do with politics than anything else. Are you ready for the premiership position now? Is that what I'm hearing you say? Lord Jesus. The problem I have with that story and with Miss Julie, saying to Rajma that, oh, nobody did anything about it until she stepped in and then she forced Bernie to issue an apology is, number one, it's just actually not true. And so, we live in a very small community. Everybody has Premier Panton's contact information. If Julie says, oh, I'm the rescuer here, finally I decided to stand up for women after 50-something years. I'm going to stand up for a woman. Forget about all the other victims, but this victim I'm going to finally stand up for. Good for you. I made Bernie apologize. I took control. I'm the leader here. The premier couldn't make him apologize, but I did it. What I would have done, call me an amateur journalist, as I would have reached out to the premier and said, sir, we're going to do another story because we got such good traction from the first story. We're going to do a follow-up story about how Juliana O'Connor Connolly and Julie said that she came to the rescue and you didn't do nothing. And as a man who has stood for women in the past, why would you not help this alleged victim? This sounds a bit fishy. Well, what we then find out is Aunt Julie's story is very fabricated at best, an outright lie at worst. Okay, let's read the premier's statement, and I'm going to leave it to you to believe who you want to believe. Okay? We contacted him when we saw the headline. Juliana O'Connor Connolly says she's the one who made him apologize. Nobody had done nothing, blah, blah, blah. I said, whoa, sir, this can't be right. I said, Premier Panton did nothing? I mean, I know the man busy, but I find this hard to believe. So we contacted his office. And within a short period of time, we got this response. Dear Mrs. Hill, further to your request on Saturday, October 21st. So when I should have been enjoying my little vacation, I'm reaching out going, hold up now. Pull the horses in. What is this all about? Right? I get a response saying, further to your request for a statement from Premier, please find the response below. Each time that this matter is brought to my attention, this is what the Premier said, either I or someone acting on my behalf address the issue in February, May, and again in August. What month are we in now? October? In February, I received a verbal briefing on the matter. I then spoke with the minister and understood that he had apologized and the issue had been resolved. So in Bernie's head, the issue was resolved, but clearly not. You better get that $750,000 check ready. On the 4th of May, during my absence, the Honorable Deputy Premier was advised by the head of the civil service that the said employee had expressed her dissatisfaction with the minister's earlier verbal apology. And following this advice, the Deputy Premier contacted senior staff in my office to assist in having a written apology provided to the employee. I was briefed on the matter by the Deputy Premier via a phone call. Later that evening, I received written confirmation from my office that the employee was satisfied with the outcome and that the way in which the matter, was handled. In late August, I again received indication of dissatisfaction and for the first time, a written complaint from the employee. She received a response within a week. For the good of all the parties involved and given the sensitive nature of the matter, I continued to exercise restraint in my comments. I mean, I got to respect the Premier for that, but I know it wouldn't be me. This particular time, folks, there'd be no restraint in my comments. I would just have to tell y'all the cold hard truth. My apologies. My sinuses. So, restraint in his comments, he's still, trying to have restraint when nobody else is having restraints. And in fact, they are throwing him under the bus, claiming that he was trying to interfere with a criminal complaint when the police say that there has been no criminal complaint made. So let's put this to bed here now, right? You have a situation that happened in February. We're now in October. There's been ample opportunity to engage lawyers, to engage the Premier on multiple occasions, to have Bernie do a verbal apology, a written apology, and the works. And we still have no resolution. Finally, the media gets a hold of it in October, and there's this request for $750,000, which apparently the Compass apparently knew nothing about, didn't mention it, that now has us all scratching our head going, what on earth is really going on here? The takeaway. Bernie Bush, stop with the lewd jokes. These people are not really your friends, and I don't care if you go out with them in the back bush of West Bay. Politics being what it is, you should mind your P's and Q's. When you're at work, you be professional, okay? If you're out drinking with your friends and you want to try it then, well, that's on you. I wouldn't recommend it either. Unless you are bosom buddies with these individuals, which you and this person might be, or you thought you were, but now you've always seen a very different side of the situation. Yeah? 750 reasons. I could give you 750,000 reasons why you want to mind your P's and Q's. Miss Julie, please go take several seats in the church pew all the way in the back of the church. You not fooling nobody. Got my eyes on you, girl. I see you, auntie. You're not fooling me with your comment that nothing happened until you got involved. Because I can't believe that you would not have been aware. If you had a phone conversation with Premier Panton, he would have briefed you on what he knew, when he knew it, back in February, and what he had attempted to do. The fact that she wasn't happy with the oral apology. Everybody knew there was an oral apology. Because at that point, when I found that in June, I was even told about the oral apology. So how you all pretend now, Johnny come lately, Auntie come lately, that all of a sudden nothing happened until you got involved? That does not even make any logical sense. Stop playing politics, right? It seems to me that what you should do as a woman of the cloth is you should take this civil servant under your frocks and try to give her some additional counseling and some additional help. Maybe you could impart some wisdom to her as a woman who's been around a lot of men over the years that are just downright disgusting and rude. You need to do a class on telling women how to really handle these crass men. Miss Juanita says, who don't really know Bernie by now? Well, you never know him. Bernie is Bernie for real. He keeps some hot jokes himself. Bernie, hot jokes himself. Bernie, you better learn from this and keep your mouth. I think there's a lot of lessons to go around here. Here's another one. This person says, good morning, Sandy. Welcome back. She knows Bernie. Oh, hold on. I moved that comment. She knows Bernie from childhood, and it all is about money, honey child. She don't give any comeback because lots of years were wasted. She don't have any comeback. For the rest of her civil service life, she would not make half that amount. So she want to get paid. Sandy, I'm just wondering now if she not back on. This seems to not be a good thing here. What if she's not back on? This seems like a good thing here, but blaming Bernie Bush for it. Someone's asking about drug use. I don't think that that's going on here. I know who it is, but why she not getting it? She not getting it, and it about Bernie, not her. Wondering if this is a setup. Is she a PPM person? Then this making me think strong. Okay, she ran against him in the past and lost, but I know. I don't know why she's like that. Bernie is wrong, but I still have to think different. I don't think it's her that actually ran against Bernie. I don't want to go too far down that line because obviously I'm not trying to divulge who the individual is. Wanda says, so right, Sandy. We have been looking for Ms. Julie to comment in other cases and heard crickets. Ridiculous. Yes, honey child. And big crickets at that. I mean, like I said, when it comes to politics, I can't really take the games, tell you the truth. What a hot mess. I drank all this water already this morning. Oh, honey child, I'm doing good with water intake. Trying to drink more water, y'all. All right. Your hand says Sandy is in super salty mode with the compass. No, I'm just speaking the truth. It's if the truth is salty, then it is what it is, right? Let's be very, very clear here, folks. That was her mother. She ran against Bernie Bush. Really? Oh, you know what? Oh, okay. I didn't even remember that she ran for office. Oh, never mind. Never mind. We don't want to go down that. Okay. I have a question. Rescue who, says Jess. Talking about Julie. She better try and rescue herself. All right, honey child. This person says, well, she's no shrinking violet. This is clear an attempt to hitch onto someone else's wagon, knowing that these ladies were going to succeed in their case against McKeeva. She's been biding her time for someone to abuse her so she could blackmail CIG, thinking that she had the same level of support from the public. Unfortunately, her tactics are so transparent, and now she'll likely lose her good job, which took her years to finally get. Her marriage, her sobriety. Well, listen, the person says she needs help. Let me be very, very clear. I don't want her to lose her job or lose anything else for that matter. I think that if she requires counseling, continue to get counseling, government folks will pay for the counseling for free. It is what it is. And I wouldn't really, worry about that. The lawyer's fees, Clyde Allen, he'll write those off for you, honey child. Let's assume that he's an upright attorney and he'll write that off for you. Okay.